All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Angie, and I partner with LifeVantage. I represent LifeVantage, which is a biotech company that has pioneered and specializes in this amazing science called nutrigenomics. And I like to extend it even a little longer and say nutrigenomic activation. And many people don't have that yet as a household word, but it's coming because it's a really, really special science that utilizes the cleanest and purest of nutritional components. And they're formulated in such a way that they activate and turn on pathways in our DNA that would otherwise be dormant. So I'm going to talk about that in a couple minutes, but first I want to just tell you a little bit about myself. I've been representing LifeVantage for it's 8 years this month. And I have been a serial entrepreneur my whole life before that. So when I found the opportunity due to truly a health crisis in our family, to align with a company that really gave me back power in my family's health and hope, and such a high level of integrity, I was very, very eager to join forces and help the world learn about what this is. And so someone invited you here today, and they invited you because they care about you and they love you. And part of why I represent LifeVantage is because when LifeVantage found me, we had been in such a deep health crisis, and it wasn't our first. And I just couldn't believe we hadn't heard about it sooner. It frustrated me. It made me a little angry. I had been very skeptical before that because I had heard so many other things that didn't give us back hope and power in our health. And so when this actually made a difference, I was frustrated that we live in a world where some of these options aren't the ones that are marketed so heavily and aren't the ones that everybody knows about and are so easy to grab onto. So I had been through a health crisis with my son. I'm a mother of 5 young men. And 8 years ago, I was the executive director of a nonprofit here in my hometown, Kalamazoo, Michigan. And my family was also starting a franchise restaurant. So that was a lot. It was a lot going on in my life. I had 4 biological sons at the time, and we were bringing into our family a 5th who had been through extreme trauma. And he was 15 at the time. And so that was a lot. And while all this was going on and I was really overextended, one of my 10-year-olds, I have identical twins, and when they were 10, one of them just had non-functional symptoms for all of his school year. So for 10 months, he was very much non-functional. And I'm diligent, I'm a doer, I'm a problem solver. And so I tried everything. I tried everything everybody recommended. I tried everything the doctors recommended. They had him on trial meds. We did crazy amounts of diagnostics. I did elimination diets. I tried just radical supplementation, and everyone had an answer. And after so long, I was weary and I was quite disheartened, and we just didn't have an answer. And there was a day where a very dear friend of mine who might be on this call, her camera is going to be off due to just some things going on in her life where she can't have her camera on tonight. But a dear friend of mine knew how weary I was, and had the heart and the love for me and my family to approach me anyhow. And she said a couple things that got my attention at the time, because really for her to approach me with anything, I was so skeptical because nothing helped my son. His name's Gabe. Nothing helped him. And so if you're skeptical, if you came here tonight completely skeptical, I feel you. And I love talking to the skeptics because I feel like I was probably up there as far as skepticism. But it really was because of who presented it to me. And it was someone that I knew so dearly. And I knew her heart for me. And I just knew her heart in general. She also is an entrepreneur and runs an adult foster care home here in our area. And she approached me. I had actually been to the adult foster care home several times in a ministry capacity. And so I was very familiar with her patients and the atmosphere, how much she cared for them, what was going on there. Most of her residents there are end of life in hospice, needing around the clot care with some of the worst of conditions, the big names, the big conditions that we all get afraid of to hear. And she told me that the overseeing physician in the adult foster care home recommended that she put every single resident on this natural product. And that seemed kind of bizarre to me because you normally don't hear physicians tell people to get on a natural product. So I that got my attention. And then she said, and so I researched it for like 6 months. And I know her to be diligent, extremely diligent. She takes everything very seriously. And so her research compared to what mine would have been, probably would have been, what I could have done in 8 months. And she just cares too deeply for her residents. So she told me that she decided to try it after researching it that many months, and she started giving it to every resident. And she said, Angie, I've had people coming out of hospice, coming out of dementia. I have people going off meds. And, that sounds kooky. And a lot of the language that we can use for this will sound too good to be true. So if it sounds too good to be true, I feel you. That's kind of where I was at. I thought, that sounds too good to be true. And she said, I pay for every resident to be on it now because everyone is so much easier to care for. It's so much easier to staff the adult foster care home because people are more well. And she said, so I present it to the families, I get their permission. And if they give their permission, I just pay. And from a business standpoint, it's brilliant if you have something that's creating more wellness when you're caring for patients. But she's also just a humanitarian with a wonderful heart and a lover of people. And so from that standpoint as well, it was really beautiful. So I didn't make the correlation at the time. I didn't understand the science. I thought that's great for these people who are mostly older. But what about my 10-year-old? How is this going to help my 10-year-old? She sent me an ABC Primetime investigative report to take a look at. I don't know if you guys have seen that. I'm going to show a small clip of it in a little bit. But if you haven't viewed that, watch it in its entirety. It's profound. It really got my attention. I'll share a little bit about how that came about. But I still couldn't totally make the comprehension because it really talked about anti-aging and I couldn't correlate it to my 10-year-old's health. But I listened to the presentation. It sounded too good to be true. My business hat was on. My mother heart was pounding, and I knew that I needed to at least try it. We had spent so much money on medical bills that I had literally nothing to lose with my son. So we also, for our adoptive son, who we had no legal rights to get a medical care at the time, he was just in our home, and he had no medical care. Like he needed everything. He had no sleep schedule. He had PTSD, extremely trauma-induced depression and anxiety, and amongst other things. And so I just said, what the heck? For this price, I'll put myself on it because I don't want to put them on something I wouldn't try. I'll put these two of my sons, because at that time then I had 5 sons. I put Gabe on it. I'll put Deshaun on it. And we saw a radical transformation actually with both of them very quickly. Gabe just came back to life, and I got my son back. He was able to go to the last 3 days of 5th grade, which I was not expecting. And every day after that, he continued to get better and better and better and stronger and stronger and stronger. And then Deshaun started having sleep patterns, and he had been so traumatized from the events that happened that brought him to our home. And we all had been, just to hear about him would be traumatizing, but for him to live through it. And I remember one day he came down and said, and it was maybe 1 day or 2 days after he started activation. And he said, I feel joy. And for this big 15-year-old kid who had been through so much, to actually feel this sense of balance and peace and joy, where depression, anxiety, and trauma had been, was very radical. And I thought, with both boys, I was like, well, let's see, let's wait and see, because I just didn't know and understand it. So we did, and every day kept getting better. And with both of them, I saw the children that I know come back, they came back to me. And it was just one of the most beautiful gifts. I couldn't help but share And that's really when I stepped into the business, because part of it was that fire inside of me that said, why doesn't the whole world know about this? Because 4 months into it, I realized I wasn't experiencing my IBS anymore. And I'm seeing all this healing going on in all of our bodies. And I knew that because I tend to have a nature where I want to be a world changer. And for me, I had to align because I couldn't keep quiet. And I see too many people suffering out there. So I'm going to share with you what it is and why it's a big deal. First, I want to bring a couple visuals to you, because I want you to wrap your mind around what activation is. Because LifeVantage, our biotech company, we are the activation company. You know of a lot of supplement companies. A lot of people will say, oh, it sounds just like this. And usually I'll say, they might be really good for you, but it's not. Unless they're an activation company, unless they're a nutrigenomic activation company, it's something different. So I have to start by telling you what we do and what activation is. And so within your DNA, everyone thinks their DNA is just this set in stone factor that's going to determine our future, right? Because my mom died early and all my aunts died early and my grandma died early. It must mean that my lifespan is going to be short because my DNA would dictate it. Or, because I have all of these relatives that have had cancer, I start to think, it must be in my DNA, I'm going to have cancer. And what we don't realize is that when we think of our DNA and it's this complex computer that truly, the hard drive would be more complex in our body and our DNA than a NASA computer. We're really miraculously made. But 80% of our DNA is just not doing anything. It's sleeping. It's dormant. 20% is active and moving. And then oddly enough, only 2% is coded. That's that written in stone stuff. I'm 5'9", I have brown hair, I have wide feet. There's nothing I can do about these things. This is just who I am. It's in that 2% that's coded. But 98% of our DNA is influenceable, meaning it's not set in stone, meaning that we're doing things even right now that are maybe trying to activate and turn on those dormant pathways and or are influencing some of that 98%. And so nutrigenomic activation isn't some hocus pocus thing. It's not, because some people say like, oh, are we messing with something that we shouldn't be messing with? Not at all. Broccoli is an activator. It just doesn't do a very good job. It just kind of tickles. It doesn't wake up any of those pathways with any gusto or power. And if you smoke, you're influencing your DNA. If you're a heavy drinker, you're influencing your DNA. If you never exercise, if you exercise a lot, so you can influence it for the positive or the negative. But what activation will do is similar to, I'll tell people, like the programming in my cell phone right now. I have a cell phone that, just like yours, most likely has a flashlight, but my flashlight is not on. You can see that it's not shining. And so sometimes when it comes to our body and our DNA, we would tend to think, well, mine just doesn't work. I guess I'm just not meant to have a working flashlight. I mean, my dad's flashlight is off. My uncle's flashlights are off. Nobody's flashlights are shining. I just have to give in to the fact that I don't have a working flashlight. When the reality is everything in my phone is set for my flashlight to be on and for it to work just like it was created to be. I have programming in my phone. I have a power cord right here. It's charged. I have power. I have a working bulb. The phone is on. Everything's lined up. Just what I don't know is, where's the switch? Actually, I do. But imagine I didn't know where the switch was, to where I just think, oh, my flashlight doesn't work. But if I flip the switch and know right where it is, all of a sudden this starts doing what it was created to do. And that's a beautiful thing. That's exactly what nutrigenomic activation does. Wildly, with our bodies, certain nutritional components that are formulated just right have the ability to turn on pathways in our DNA that are responsible for exponential healing and repair. This switch right here was responsible for exponential brightness. It was wonderful. All of a sudden, I had light. Well, in the same way, we have pathways in our DNA that when it's turned on powerfully, not in a way that just touches it or tickles it, but powerfully, we have the ability to increase healing and repair like manufacturing houses within our body. And why do we do that? And how do we do that? So years ago, actually for 40 years, so it's been 60 years now, 60 years ago, there was a hunt set by a world-renowned scientist whose name is Dr. Joe McCord. And he discovered a wonderful antioxidant within our body called SOD, or superoxide dismutase. The units of measurement for SOD are actually measured in McCord units. He discovered this super antioxidant in his quest to get to the bottom of this culprit of disease and aging, all disease, and aging and vulnerability as we know it, deep injury, the things that go wrong in our body. At the very root and the very core of that is this culprit called oxidative stress. And I want you to think of oxidative stress like one of the four legs of a table. You can picture a table with four legs. I'm sitting at a table right now with four legs. One of the legs is going to be represented by this culprit, this bad guy called oxidative stress. It's like the rusting of the cells. And that's why we eat foods rich in antioxidants. The problem is our oxidative stress levels are elevating every single day we're alive on Earth. People who are 20 have more oxidative stress than people who are 10. Humans that are 50 have more oxidative stress than the 20-year-olds. An 80-year-old's oxidative stress level should be very high. If you have an autoimmune disease, you have higher levels of oxidative stress. If you have arthritis, higher levels of oxidative stress. Any ailment that you can think of is supported and rooted in this bad guy called oxidative stress. And supplements like vitamin C and vitamin E, while they're antioxidant supplements, they just can't even put a dent in that oxidative stress to the level that it's going to make a difference in our disease processes or in our aging progression. And so same with foods rich in antioxidants. I could eat 9 pounds of blueberries today. They're rich in antioxidants, and it literally wouldn't lower the oxidative stress enough to heal my thumbnail. And so in his 40-year search with his biochemistry and molecular biology team that started in pharma, they spent years in the pharmaceutical world and started shifting out and realizing that they were having more success with Eastern methods, using herbs and using plants and using nutritional components. And so they shifted their work to the University of Colorado in Denver, and they made an amazing discovery. They found a formulation of 5 herbs that when mixed together, activate a really, really special pathway in your DNA. It's called NRF2. NRF2 is the name of that protein enzyme within your DNA. And they found a synergizer. And by synergizer, I mean that the ingredients, those herbs, synergize with one another so strongly, the way they're combined and how they're combined, that when you take them, they powerfully turn on that NRF2 pathway. And that's why we call that an NRF2 activator, because if you're not taking an NRF2 synergizer, if you're not taking our NRF2 activator, then your NRF2 pathway is off, it's sleeping. But when it's on, it does wildly special things. So what happened was they discovered on their first study that they did on humans with 100% efficacy, which already, I know if you're in the medical world, you're thinking, baloney, what has 100% efficacy? We know how crazy that is. But 100% of the humans in the study lowered their oxidative stress 40%, at least 40% in 30 days, 70% in 90 days. That's unheard of. It's a crazy claim. Nothing else can do that. Nothing else can come close to do that. So that study had a summary published in the Wall Street Journal, which got the attention of the world. And that's how we have so many peer-reviewed studies, which I'll reference later. But it also got the attention of ABC Primetime Investigative Report 20 years ago. And they came in and they wanted to say baloney, let's prove you wrong. Those news magazines would come in to blow most businesses out of the water and expose them for being fraudulent. And so I want to just share with you a 2-minute clip from that ABC Primetime. It's special. I think that being able to represent a company where some of my best marketing materials are the ones created by people who would have made more money if they proved us wrong is just one of my favorite things. So I'm going to share with you just this 2-minute little blurb. Oh, hold on one second. I think I had my order wrong. There we go.
Normally, oxidative stress, measured by those T-bars, increases with age. But in Dr. McCord's tests, taking just one pill of protandem a day reversed that trend for everyone at every age, even for an 80-year-old.
They all are reduced to the level of oxidative stress that one would expect, frankly, in a newborn or a very young child.
Back to the oxidative stress levels of a child? It sounds too good to be true. Will protandem work on me? But what about my progress? After nearly 2 weeks now, it's time to get my results. Dr. McCord calculates the numbers. The result, my level of oxidative stress has declined dramatically.
45%. That's excellent.
Just look at where I fall on the graph, before and after.
Which, if extrapolated back, is the level you would see in a newborn baby.
Have we turned back the clock? Well, maybe not on the outside, but deep inside within my cells. Yes, indeed.
Would you suggest they keep taking the supplement?
I would.
And so, ancient Eastern healing and modern Western medicine may soon be working together. High oxidative stress is associated with more than aging. It's been linked to hundreds of illnesses.
It's at the very center of many diseases: liver disease, diabetes, emphysema, asthma. I've studied all of these: strokes, heart attacks, even mental disease. Yes, depression, Alzheimer's disease, depression. But we do know that oxidative stress is part of those disease processes. And I don't want to wait until I'm 80 years old to find out that I should have taken it.
How powerful, right? And that's only 2 minutes of this 12-minute video. To be able to see this Emmy Award-winning news reporter, who, by the way, 19 years later, he is still on the products, be able to lower his oxidative stress 45% in 2 weeks. Our study showed it was at least 40% in 30 days. And so we have something very profound. The beautiful thing is to see what happens to disease processes when you take away one leg of that table. And I want you to think of the things in your life and maybe in your family's DNA, the things that you think are hereditary or the unwellness in your body. And we get very, very diagnosis focused in our world. And so I don't want to focus too much on these, but I also want to honor the fact that some of you may have come here with a diagnosis, and we've been really trained to look at those diagnoses. And I want you to think of the diagnoses that bother you most, or just the ones that maybe scare you the most. Think of them as the tabletop. And what the mission of LifeVantage is, and what Dr. McCord's mission was, he was our chief formulator of that protandem NRF2 activator that was our first product, our flagship product. I want you to think of that NRF2 activator as a leg of the table that supports that tabletop that represents all disease, because inflammation itself is rooted in oxidative stress. So most diseases, any disease you can think of, is not only linked to oxidative stress, but of course supported by inflammation. Now imagine if we can just knock that leg of the table off. What if that leg isn't an issue anymore? How functional can that tabletop be? Can it be as functional as it was before? And I want you to kind of keep that in your mind, because what we do in LifeVantage is, with our nutrigenomic activators, we target the components of dysfunction within our cells that are present and dysfunctional, supporting everything. So we don't get very diagnosis specific. In fact, I can't say that we heal, treat, or cure any disease. What I can say is we're taking away the underlying dysfunctions in the cell. We're going deeper. We're not managing symptom by symptom, and we're not managing diagnosis by diagnosis. We're going underneath to the cell, and we're getting the cell so healthy. and we're creating and building wellness and repair within the cell, that disease processes, any of them on the tabletop, have a very hard time existing or having the identity that they have in the past. So I'm going to share my screen once again and see if I can pull up my PowerPoint and get us through. All right. So this graph, a little more close up, is something I'm so proud of. Truly, that red line is our oxidative stress levels and what they should look like and how they should be raised as we're aging from 20 and beyond. And so as you can see, being much, much higher around age 80 than age 20. And you'll see it if you watch the ABC Primetime Investigative Report in its fullness, that oxidative stress level cannot, when our blood is tested for oxidative stress, you can't determine the age-related factor from an 80-year-old to a 20-year-old. It's indistinguishable within 30 days. So oxidative stress, yes, it's a big deal. You don't hear, I think you're starting to hear more people talk about it. But you can see why this was really a passion of Dr. McCord's through the years and for so many decades, because there just is not an illness that isn't rooted in oxidative stress. I went to pubmed.gov right before this call, and at the time, which is of course much later than the slide was made, I think the number was 343,000 studies linking oxidative stress to different disease processes. So while I tell people that we do not claim to heal, treat, or cure any disease, there's many studies, sometimes thousands, on each disease process and its underlying support from oxidative stress. Why do we have oxidative stress? Why is it elevating so fast? It is a little worse now in the age that we live in, because we have things like all the 80,000 chemicals that have been introduced since the Industrial Revolution. We have processed foods, we have 5G, we have stressful lives and pollution, and we have opportunities to really abuse our bodies from things, like smoking to drinking to all kinds of other things. But even just being alive on this earth every day increases our oxidative stress levels. Actually, the free radicals that build up in our cells are what oxidative stress is made out of. Free radicals are like the little rust particles, or kind of, I envision them like ash. Like if this room was on fire and it got put out, all the little particles of ash are like those free radicals. And every day we're alive, those free radicals increase by 300 sextillion, which is 23 zeros, every single day. And so whether you have a diagnosis or whether you're aging and your aging feels like chronic fatigue and no energy and brain fog and lack of concentration, getting sick all the time. I hear people all the time talk about how bad it is to age. And I have to tell you, I've been activated now it'll be 8 years. June 16th was when I placed my first order. And I just had pretty extensive labs done last December from Function Health, Dr. Mark Hyman's organization. And we ran an enormous amount of panels because I don't have any symptoms. I feel great. And I just wanted to know, do I have any markers that I'm not symptomatic for? Because it may change my protocol a little bit. And one of the first lab results that I got back was them letting me know that my biological age is 13 and a half years younger than my calendar age. And I do eat well and I do exercise, but I've been activated for 8 years. And so being able to see that in my blood work, that my blood work shows I was 38, I'm 51, is really, really wonderful. And I feel better than I did at 38. I feel better than I did at 28. I've never really felt good in my life until I was activated. And this is just a wonderfully synergized combination of things that you may be taking separately. Turmeric, green tea, ashwagandha, bacopa, milk thistle. Do those things on their own activate the NRF2 to this degree? Not even close, not even a fraction. It's this beautiful recipe. It's kind of like, because I know there might be some of you on this call that would say, well, I take all those. I put them in my smoothie. I have it every day. That doesn't mean you're getting the NRF2 activator. It's kind of like if I offered you a chocolate chip cookie and said, you have to have this chocolate chip cookie. It's magnificent. You wouldn't say to me, well, I've already had eggs today. I've already had flour today. I've already had sugar today. I've had baking soda. You wouldn't list all the ingredients and say that you've had a cookie. And in the same way, we have 13 patents, 7 domestic, 6 international, just on this formulation. But what a wonderful thing to know that it is just plants. So we have gotten the attention of the world. We currently have 31 peer-reviewed studies that are published. 28 of them are on PubMed, and our 32nd is being done right now from Duke University. It's going on at Duke University. Some of my favorite studies, and again, I love being able to tell you, you can research from people who probably would have made more money if they proved us wrong. And so you don't have to believe me. That's why I love talking to skeptics. Go look at any of these. The American Heart Association, in all of their history, has never funded a study on a proprietary blend natural product until ours. And they teamed up with Ohio State and have a study that is absolutely incredible. One of our studies is done by a pharmaceutical company, Biogen, who created a synthetic NRF2 activator, and you cannot compare a synthetic to ours. They have completely different functions. You can tell in their study that they do. They funded a study comparing their drug for MS, which is called Tecfidera, and they compared it to our Protandim NRF2. They compared it to broccoli, which is that little tickle of an NRF2 activator, and they compared it to another drug company's very, very toxic and banned NRF2 activator. And they had to show in their conclusion, which was printed in the MS journal, that the potency of their activator, Tecfidera, isn't even half as potent as ours. And it does come with a lot of side effects, and ours does not. And so we see the healthy benefits of activating NRF2 powerfully through nutrition, where sometimes pharmaceutically, we see it causing and wreaking more havoc. And so I love that one of our studies was done by that pharmaceutical company. Washington State University concluded in their study that NRF2 may well become the most therapeutic and preventative breakthrough in the history of medicine. That is their quote. I'm quoting their study, and they have many better ones. But I remember hearing that and thinking, give me a break. That's melodramatic. But I've seen really wonderful things, and I've seen people defy odds that you wouldn't even believe. And in my family alone, the testimonies that I could tell you would take all day, but they involve type 1 diabetes, pulmonary embolism, blood clot, blood thinners, migraines, vertigo, dizzy spells, Lyme disease, seizures, athletic recovery, surgery recovery, IBS. I always forget stuff because we've had a lot. Arthritis. And the stories I could tell sound too good to be true, but it's beautiful to have something that takes away an underlying dysfunction that affects all of those things. And each of these organizations that are world-renowned in their own right have used their own funds to study our product and how they affect certain disease processes. Like Louisiana State University did a study on how our products affect melanoma. And what's wonderful there is they found that it lowered melanoma 55%, 57% in their study. So they started grinding up our Protandim NRF2, which is a tablet. They created a paste and they started putting it on topically. And so that they could topically reduce oxidative stress from the skin where the melanoma was, and then internally. And so they really approached our company at the conclusion of that study and asked us if we could create a topical NRF2 activator, which we did. So we have a skincare line that's all NRF2 activated. And of course, it's like almost horrifyingly anti-aging because it's lowering oxidative stress. It's patented. It's very hard to get a patent on skincare because it has to do something nothing else does. And it lowers the oxidative stress in the skin, which is also extremely healing and very much repairing. And we continued on in the science of nutrigenomics. So our Nerve 2 kind of exploded into our skincare and even hair care, because people were putting the skincare on their scalp, and that's not attractive. So we developed a hair and scalp care line that's all NRF2 activated. But our heart is really to look at those foundational components that are in every cell that affect everything. So people started giving NRF2 to their dogs, cats, horses, cows, seeing incredible results. Some of those testimonies I listed off are my dogs that have had pretty radical results from being activated. And the company brought in veterinary formulators to formulate an NRF2 activator that's really formulated for dogs and cats, if we can get the cats to take it. But like I have a St. Bernard, he weighs a lot. It's more cost effective. I just give him the human one. We have an NRF2 activated drink called Axio that targets the oxidative stress in the brain and in the nervous system. And so it's really, really incredible how targeting that NRF2 activation, kind of like we do with the skin, we can target the brain and nervous system with that Axio. And for some people, it feels like just a clean energy drink because it's clearing away the brain fog. It's giving them focus. But when we have people with cognitive issues, mental disabilities, even emotional, learning disabilities, we see really, really beautiful things. You have another pathway in your DNA that's not doing anything right now unless you're activated, and it's called NRF1. And when we activate that pathway with a combination of 5 herbs, just like different herbs, but just like we do with NRF2, it turns on your body's ability to build and strengthen and multiply mitochondria. And your mitochondria are a really, really big deal. They are responsible for your cellular energy. So all of the energy that not only your cells need to perform at maximum capacity, but think every part of your body, it comes from a cell. So every organ to perform at maximum capacity. For my heart to beat right now without me thinking about it, for me to be able to enter into a deep sleep tonight, that believe it or not, takes that cellular energy. And when you take NRF2 and NRF1 together, they make each other stronger. So we increase their potency by taking both of them. We have another member of our Protandem family called NAD. And when you activate your NAD, it turns on your body's ability to increase your production of what's called sirtuins. And sirtuins are, well, let me back up, by 100% in 24 hours. It's very powerful. It's very fast. You're manufacturing those sirtuins, which stimulate this amazing process called autophagy. And autophagy is the deep detoxifying of the cell. Now, every activator we have is essentially detoxing the cell in different ways from different dysfunctions, but that NAD really is the cleaner outer of our cells, so to say, and the protector of our DNA. And so doing that, it turns on your body's ability to mimic the fasting response. So when you hear about people doing fasting and cold plunges and these things which are great for you, they're not sustainable 24/7. Manufacturing sirtuins is sustainable 24/7. We can keep that manufacturing going, but I can't sit in a cold tub all day. And eventually I'm going to have to eat. So where they are creating that autophagy stimulation, you do that through activating NAD and producing those sirtuins. And when you take those 3 together, again, their response of synergizing together is so strong that we have a patent on the effects of the 3 of them together, because it creates this unique response that is in itself its own product. We have an activator that's called fat burn. And while that can sound very cosmetic, it turns on the body's ability to burn the visceral fat, the deadly fat, the fat that surrounds your organs, the fat that causes heart disease and fatty liver disease. And so being able to actually have a process in our fat cells called beiging, it's taking those dangerous white cells and beiging them, but taking them away. It's an incredible product. We have a whole gut health line where we really revolutionized the probiotic, the prebiotic, and even a postbiotic. We have a multi-nutrient delivery system where, again, we revolutionized how people get their vitamins and minerals, because most people, if they're taking a multivitamin, just aren't able to get everything that's in there because your bodies can't absorb all of your daily essentials from one pill at one time. So we created a really fabulous system. So our product line is just overflowing with powerful activators and supportive products that do what nothing else does. But our most recent contribution into our activation line is an activated collagen. And again, kind of like the fat burn, I think it pulls people into a bit of feeling like, oh, this must be cosmetic. But remember, that's not what we do in LifeVantage. In LifeVantage, we target the underlying culprits within the cell, that the dysfunctions that affect everything, that affect every cell, that affect every organ, that affect every disease process. So while there are cosmetic supplements out there that people are purchasing, whether they're working or not, that are collagen, and you're thinking hair, skin, and nails, your eyes are 90% collagen. Your liver function depends on collagen. Collagen is the most prominent protein in the entire body, which means in every cell. So your mental health, your sleep quality, your brain and cognition, your gut health, your joint health, whether you're in pain or not, all of those things are dependent on the collagen in your cells. And we're not just supplementing, we're activating. And that's what makes us unique. We're activating the body's production of collagen. We're replenishing with 10 different kinds of collagen, very, very clean collagen. And we're maintaining through another form of activation. We activate the body's ability to protect collagen from exponential loss or a fast progression of loss. So I'll break down a little bit because this is different and it's very, very powerful. So we use an ingredient called ruby red quinoa extract, and that is what is activating the pathway that is producing and manufacturing 3 different kinds of collagen. Your body requires 28, just so you know. So if you're taking a collagen right now, take a look and see how many types of collagen are in it. In our activator, we manufacture 3, we supplement 10, and then we activate to protect them. So what's amazing is we're activating these 3 genes to boost your collagen production. In so doing, we're also activating, I don't know if you will remember what I mentioned before, that super antioxidant enzyme that Dr. McCord discovered, SOD. In fact, when we take NRF2, it increases our glutathione by 300%. Your body starts increasing your SOD production by 57% and your catalase by 34%. In so doing, just the SOD alone eliminates 1 million free radicals per enzyme. You have many enzymes per cell per second. So just since we started this call, the trillions, because I have about 37 to 50 trillion cells, just the trillions and trillions and trillions of free radicals that have been eliminated because I'm activated with NRF2. Now, if I draw your attention, if we activate with ruby red quinoa extract, we're increasing your SOD production by 2,700%, almost 3,000%. That activates your catalase production and increases it by 202%. We haven't even gotten to the collagen manufacturing yet. This is just antioxidant production within your body. And we increase your collagen production 42%, which creates an increase of 100% in your collagen density. It's not your Costco collagen supplement. We can't compare apples to apples. It's not even fair to compare it to another collagen supplement. If you look at our initial cell study here, you can see the difference in the cell from the day that you start to week 8. So at week 0, we see the collagen density, which would be highlighted in yellow as very, very minimal. And the low collagen areas we see in black. By week 4, we're seeing less black. We're seeing more yellow. And then by week 8, if you see all that yellow, that's an increase of 100% collagen density within every single cell. Think about that. This is what your brain cells look like. These are what your heart cells look like. These are every single connective tissue that you have. We supplement with hydrolyzed marine peptides. Hydrolyzing is really, really important. It means we're breaking down those molecules so that you can absorb it. We need it to be bioavailable, meaning your body can take those big collagen molecules in, because collagen has large molecules. So hydrolyzing is really, really important. And having 10 different kinds is really important because each has a different function within your body and its different systems, which all complement each other. And we maintain with a citrus berry extract. That's what activates the pathway that will regulate that increased degradation of your collagen. And so it's not keeping all of it. You shouldn't keep all of it. We have to lose some, but it's slowing down completely so that it's slowing down it in a safe way and regulating it how it's meant to be when we were younger, so that we can keep the collagen that we're activating and that we're supplementing. We don't add anything bad into our products. In fact, I even love to brag on this one. I love to brag on the maltodextrin because we don't add maltodextrin into our activated collagen, but we list it as an ingredient. We have such a microscopic amount in it that we're not legally obligated to list it. But in the heating process of that fruit extract that causes that activation, that we have to do that in the formulation to activate, maltodextrin gets created from the fruit as a byproduct. We don't add it in, but that's the level of integrity that LifeVantage offers. They want you to know what's in it, and they want you to know what's not in it. Also, there's no shellfish in it. So I have several clients who are highly allergic to shellfish that are on the activated collagen and have had really incredible results. It's important that it's a liquid. Collagen protein pieces are just too big to digest. And so when you have a powder, you're really only absorbing 10 to 30% if you're lucky, if it's made super well and it's not full of a bunch of garbage. So you should know what you're putting in your body. We also keep it in a dark bottle because we want to protect it from any oxygenation. We want the integrity of this formulation to be exactly as intended when you ingest it. And so I think I've probably listed all of these things to you already. I love to show people with our activated collagen some of the external results, because kind of like with our skincare, and you know what, honestly, with all of our activators, because when your body is healthy inside, on the outside starts to look a lot better and a lot different. And I have colleagues within this company who are all on pretty much all of our activators when the collagen came out. So the pictures I'm going to show you are people I work with, and they were already on NRF2. They were already on NRF1. Almost all of them were on NAD and gut health, and our activated collagen was released. And I want to show you what that looked like on the outside. It did wonderful things on the inside. Most of my feedback from my clients is pretty extreme internal, having to do with chronic pain or heart conditions or brain conditions, and so on. But the outside is kind of fun because we don't realize it sometimes until it happens that we do want to look better. But when you see those crow's feet and the lines on our décolleté and on our neck, and remember, your eyes are 90% collagen. This is my friend Carrie on the left. Just even, I've seen people's eye color change. I see inflammation go down in their face. I see color return. And some of these look doctored, but I can tell you, I know these people. This is Betty. You might think this looks doctored, but this is Betty's before and after. And Betty will be the first one to tell you she feels better than she looks. And she looks absolutely amazing. But what this did for her on the inside is heads and shoulders above what it did on the outside. This is Seth on the left, 15 days in. He didn't think it was doing anything yet. But sometimes when we get a picture, the pictures don't lie. This is Becky, kind of the same thing. You can see just a huge difference in her crow's feet. We see it in people's necks, in the people's skin tone, in the puffiness around their eyes. Even in legs. These legs on the right are a friend of mine, Dr. Nancy Bryan, who is brilliant. She's on our scientific advisory board. She holds a PhD in pharmacology and in microbiology. And she lost 50 pounds at 70 years old. And this is what her legs look like on the left. And 90 days into her adding collagen to her activation, look at her legs on the right. It's just profound. And we see it over and over and over again. This is my friend Tina on the left. The difference in her eyes, her eye color, her skin color, She had these dark circles around her eyes and it just brightened her up. That's because her cells are healthier. Your skin is an organ, by the way. Even hair growth. Sometimes people will send us pictures of, look at how much different my face looks. And we have to say, look at your hair. You've grown hair back. So it's really, really profound what that activation can do. And again, kind of like when we combine the NRF2, NRF1, and NAD, we started seeing a very unique response when we combine the NRF2 and activated collagen. So much so that we needed to run our own cell study. We held a in vitro study on the synergy between, between NRF2 and collagen. And the results are extremely life-changing and profound. We found that the response that's created of the two together, you have this wonderful NRF2, this wonderful activated collagen, and up here you have a wonderful response that's now patented that isn't present in either of them. We see a de-stressing by 992% in the cell system within our body that holds our actual stress, not our oxidative stress, but the stress, the fight or flight stress, the stress when we've been dealing with trauma, the stress of illness, the stress of worry. And our cells hold that. Imagine if that was lowered by 992%. We, together with that synergy, regulate over close to 3,000, over 2,000 dysregulated survival genes. And they're responsible for things like cancer tumor growth and autoimmune processes and diabetic processes. And we're seeing the results of that synergy literally turning back the immune system to its original form. It's wonderful, the things we get to see. So at this point, you may be wondering, okay, what do I do now? Some of you are here because you just wanted to hear about our product line. And some of you are here because you're like me. You love to share and change people's lives. And maybe it's rising up in you like it was rising up in me that we need more sharers. It's frustrating that we have to get on a Zoom possibly years into a process that's causing you pain or people that you love pain before you hear about this. And so you may consider this as a business. If you just want the products, just tune out for a second because it's no problem. We absolutely love customers, and the more people we can help be well, the better. But we do need more sharers, and we need more people to extend our reach so more people can know what's possible. Because you know that tabletop has many legs, and we address it. We address each leg, the NRF1, the NAD, the activated collagen, even our supporting products and the Axio and the fat burn. All the legs of that disease tabletop get knocked out from under it. We see that disease and vulnerable aging processes have a very hard time gaining dysfunctional ground. So what a wonderful thing to share. I mentioned I was running a nonprofit and opening a franchise restaurant. When I started this business, I did not have time for this business. My restaurant owned me. We remortgaged our house to start that restaurant, and every ounce of energy I had revolved around that and my 5 sons and still managing that nonprofit. But people always will talk to you about their problems, their hurts, their sickness. And now instead of saying, I am so sorry, and I just hate that, I'm able to say, would you be open to looking at what made a difference in our lives? And I just send a link. And it was so easy for me to fit in the nooks and crannies. And whereas we remortgaged our house to start that restaurant, and every single month we needed $30,000 to break even, not to get paid. We spent 6 years not getting paid, but working so that all of our employees and our landlord could get paid. And all the while I was sharing and just helping people. My best friend went off of 17 meds and no longer has lupus markers. My mother no longer has arthritis. I have people on this call who could all tell stories of I shared with them at that time. And to get paid from one of my greatest pains, watching my child suffer, and the solution for that has now become a wonderful career where I don't have $30,000 a month in business expenses. I don't have any business expenses a month. I don't have any employees. I don't have assets. I don't have overhead. I can work from anywhere. That picture on the bottom is me and my family in the Smoky Mountains, where I worked in the cabin when I could get internet and send a couple links and answered people's questions. And it's just the most wonderful thing to be able to put something in people's hands that gives them back hope and power. That beautiful woman in the bottom right corner is Erin Brockovich. If you're anywhere near my age, you may have seen the movie that starred Julia Roberts called Erin Brockovich. She sought our company out to ask to be on our board of directors. And I always say, gosh, as scrutinizing and as skeptical as I am or was, she's got me beat. And that just kind of shows too, if the Erin Brockovich chooses to put her name stamp on a company, she's with LifeVantage. We're publicly traded on the NASDAQ, we're debt-free. And in May last month, we were featured amongst pharmaceutical companies in a 25-page spread that Newsweek did on a new era of life sciences, where they were willing to learn about nutrigenomic activation and talk to our CEO, Steve Fife, on why and how we see the things that we do, like you have just heard today. If that interests you at all, it's really amazing that we can create a career out of helping others. And so I just want to draw your attention to this third column here. This is the average monthly commissions at each paid rank. And I just love to kind of walk people through this a little bit. When you first start out, it's a couple bucks here and there. As you share with more people, you may get enough to pay for your products. And that's a really cool thing. That's actually what spurred me. I didn't really have time. I didn't envision myself doing this business, but I wanted every member of my large family and my dogs and myself to be on every product because of what we had seen. So I needed to share and get paid to do that so that I could pay for my products. So when you get into like if you look row 3 here, this senior consultant 2, I mean, what difference would $650 a month make in your life? Can you imagine? You know, sometimes that's a car payment. Sometimes that's the difference between marriages staying together or not. Sometimes that's the difference between filing bankruptcy or not. And if you scroll down here a little more, just a few steps further is, you know, making $7,500 extra a month. That's a career. That's college degree money. People go to college and have several years and letters after their name to make 90 grand a year. And what I love to highlight, and really the main reason that I love to share this income disclosure, is that I've been a woman in ministry. I've been a woman in the corporate world. I've been a woman in automotive manufacturing. And I've been a woman, restaurant owner, self-employed, dance studio owner, had many businesses. And there are glass ceilings out there. And there are industry norms. And there are org charts. And sometimes you are placed in a place with your income that you can't see yourself being able to make more money without a different level of experience, a different gender sometimes, a different age, a different race, different letters after your name. And why I'm bringing all this up is why I chose to really, really grow my LifeVantage career outside of the fact I can't keep quiet about it, is that when you get to the top earners, down at the bottom, where people are making hundreds of thousands of dollars each month. And those are the ones that have worked their tails off. Then, you know, they didn't quit when it got hard. So that's not where everyone gets. Some people don't care to get there. But what I love about that is when I see the people whose monthly income is far more than our company's CEO annual salary. They are Black and they are white. They are old and they are young. They are female and they are male, and they are truck drivers and they are accountants. They are CEOs. Literally, one of my team members is a CEO of another company, and she can't help but do this business. Attorneys and stay-home moms, preschool teachers, high school dropouts, and, you know, oncologists. We have over 2,000 medical professionals that have chosen to align with LifeVantage because they want to integrate something that heals so deeply and helps people, which is truly why they got into medicine in the first place, instead of managing illness and sickness. So If that looks like something that you would want to do, if you have been taking it and feeling it and you can't help but share it, or you just want to take it and to experience the benefits, all you need to do is one, just get with whoever invited you to this Zoom. They have a way for you to get your products, and they know how to help you get your products for the best price. And if you think, you know, I want to do this business, but I don't know anything about oxidative stress. I don't know anything about mitochondrial dysfunction or collagen proteins like Angie was talking about. They'll tell you that Angie didn't used to know about this. You know, I've been doing this for 8 years. You don't have to have a degree in all this stuff. We have a team and we help each other. And so we are in business for ourselves, but not by ourselves. You can see you got invited to this event. Where if you decide to step into this business, you can invite to these, which reminds me, our next one is actually going to be next week. Normally I do every other week and I alternate Tuesday and Thursday every other week. But if I wait 2 weeks on Thursday, it's the 4th of July. So I thought, why not just do one more time in June? So our next one is going to be, let me flip my calendar that I was supposed to have ready, on the 27th, Thursday night, the 27th. And this is a time where really, if anyone wants to unmute and ask questions, if you don't have any questions and you don't want to hear answers to questions and you have listened long enough, thank you so much for being a part of this. If you want to listen to the questions or even contribute, we would love it. So feel free to unmute if you have a question, and I'm happy to stay on as long as needed to answer any questions. Anyone have a question?
I have a question. What if a concern comes up that they see an ingredient, like you mentioned, ashwagandha? If someone has maybe had, is allergic to ashwagandha,
Okay.
in that case, how do we address that?
Yes, yeah, that is such a good question. I'm so glad you asked that. There's a few answers actually. One is our synergy. What's interesting is because sometimes we'll have people say, oh, my doctor said that I really shouldn't have turmeric, because when a doctor is thinking about a turmeric supplement or the amount of turmeric that we would use in a recipe, it's much larger amounts. They're actually micro doses that are synergized and into our product. So a good example is that NRF2 combination. That's turmeric, ashwagandha, bacoba, milk thistle, and green tea extract. So let's say it's ashwagandha. It's such a microscopic amount. The synergy makes it stronger than if you had taken a lot of ashwagandha. So the effects on your body are 1,600 times greater than, or I'm sorry, 16 times, 1,600% greater than if you would just be taking it by itself. So you're getting the effects of it without actually getting a large amount of it. So that's the first answer is sometimes we have to let people know how microscopic it is, but that won't matter if someone's allergic. If someone's allergic to it, there's 2 trains of thought that we can go to. One is what it does is more powerful than what it is. And what I mean by that is I've had clients who said, I am allergic to this, but I'm going to take it because I want that benefit. And then we have found that there was no reaction because the very act of activating that NRF2, lowering the oxidative stress, which it starts doing right away, and it's cumulative, it builds up over time and gains strength, but it's starting right away. So we've had some people with allergies, we never tell them to, but on their own advice for themselves decided to try it and had no reaction. So there's that. I'm cautious about that because I don't love to play around with allergies. And so what I would love to do is, let's just say someone was allergic to ashwagandha. Then let's start with some of our other products and get your body healing with our other products so that maybe that ashwagandha allergy is no longer an issue. So instead of starting with NRF2 that contains ashwagandha, I would love to see them start with maybe NRF1 and activated collagen. And then the activated collagen would offer that antioxidant response without an ingredient that's an NRF2. And then we would get the NRF1 and maybe NAD as well. And then if someone said, oh, well, the ingredients of the NAD and the NRF1, I react to those. I'd say, well, let's just start with NRF2 and collagen. And I think sometimes our expansive activation line gets frustrating because it's frustrating for people who are new because every single thing helps everything. So how do you pick? Like, what's more important? You know, like lowering my oxidative stress or increasing my mitochondria, and we start seeing the benefits and we think I want everything. And we're very used to being told for this ailment, take this. For that ailment, take this. And so sometimes my clients are like, Angie, I just want you to tell me what to do. And I do say there's no wrong answer. What is your gut telling you? Do you want to start with one thing? Do you want to start with 5 things? Do you want to go somewhere in the middle? But that's the drawback of having so many really effective products that target everything. The benefit is if someone wants a benefit of activation and on the cellular level, they want to lower a dysfunction that's one of the table legs, and they're afraid of the ingredients of 1 or 2 products, instead of me trying to coax them and see if we can try it and adapt their body gently to it, I can say, let's start with a couple of the other activators. And let's have you just start in a place where you feel confident. And we can work around it that way. Does that kind of answer your question? It doesn't really have one answer. It has a few that kind of need to meet people where they're at.
Yeah, that answers that question, because I had heard in some cases where people that were allergic to turmeric, they were able to take the NRF2, which has the turmeric in it.
Yeah.
But I know that sometimes, you know, if you've had a really strong reaction to something, just hearing that something has it in it could make you very fearful to even think about taking it. So I like that we have more options for other ways for our body to heal from. Yeah. So that definitely answers that.
Yeah, I love that we have more options now, because there was a day when we only had NRF2. So if someone was too afraid and they just weren't going to take the NRF2, then they just weren't going to be activated. And so to be in a place now where we've addressed so many of the table legs, we've addressed so many of those foundational dysfunctions, that we have a lot of ways to really help people. And I guess one other way that I didn't get into a lot is everything we have is very detoxing. So some people might think they're reacting to it, and they could just be having a very strong detox. You're having a deep cellular detoxification. So in either frame of mind there, we can start really gentle if someone has a sensitive system and is nervous. So I've had people start with like a quarter of a tablet and take that for a week until they're really sure, okay, nothing bad's going to happen. Now we're going to go up to a half a tablet, and then take that for another week, or even a few days. Once you're a few days and you're like, wow, because sometimes even on a smaller dose, people start feeling good, and then they're ready and they're gaining that confidence to take a full tablet. But you know, one thing I can tell you, I have a friend who just started on the NRF2 and collagen and the fat burn, and he reported back to me 4 days in, and he works in like HVAC and goes into people's homes, and he normally reacts to the dogs and cats. He has a strong pet allergy, and he just wasn't. He said, is this supposed to help my allergies? I said, honestly, I don't always know what it's going to help first, because our bodies go to what's most critical first. But he's like, I'm going into all these houses and I'm assuming there's no cat. And then all of a sudden it runs by and I'm not reacting. And, you know, and that's pretty early in. So in the same way, that's happening in your body and how you respond to food. And I noticed that for myself too. I had food that certain nutrients that I used to react really extreme to. And once I was activated, I, you know, accidentally got some, and I didn't realize it till after I ate it. And I was like, wow, I'm not even sick. I'm not hurting. And so you start to see all of that healing happening. Any other questions?
I've heard can you hear me?
Yes.
I've heard some people chew the NRF2 thinking that it would get better absorbed versus just swallowing the pill. Is there any basis to that?
No. but you can crush it. You can crush it and break it up. But it's broken down and metabolized in your liver, whereas pharmaceuticals are processed through your kidneys. And everything that we formulate, and that's why we have different formulate, we have different forms. Our NRF1 are capsules, our NAD are capsules, our NRF2 is a tablet. There's a reason why our Axio is a powder and our collagen is a liquid, is we formulate these activators in a way that they are going to be absorbed. And I can't tell you how often I've asked the company and R&D, like our scientists and biologists who are running R&D, of why did you do it that way? And their answer so often will be because you can't absorb it the other way. And so I know with our NRF2, I've had moms grind it up and put it in baby formula and in feeding tubes. I have even adults who can't swallow pills and will break it into pieces and put it in a sandwich. So I had one gentleman, he would have to put it in pieces in a sandwich and chew it. With NRF2, we're pretty free to say, just get it in you. And so if it makes you feel better to chew it, though I will say it doesn't taste good. I like swallowing it
True.
because when it hits the taste buds, it's not super pleasant.
That's
But
true.
yes, it's not, I'm sure you know now. But like for children, we'll say, put it in a nut butter, put it in applesauce, in yogurt, in a smoothie, do what you need to do.
Taken internally as a pill, though, it will break down completely.
It'll break down completely.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to just swallow the pill then.
Yes. Yes, please do.
Yeah.
It'll be much more pleasant for you and you'll probably stick with it more.
Yeah.
Yes.
I have Parkinson's actually, and I started taking the collagen
Okay.
just by itself several months ago.
Okay.
And then I added the Protandim to it after a month.
Okay.
And I didn't necessarily notice a difference after the Protandim. So I
Okay.
called Rusty on that. And
Okay.
he said it takes about 120 days for it to max out.
Yeah.
So I stuck with it, and I still didn't necessarily notice a radical difference, although with the collagen, I had a marked difference
Oh,
in my overall being.
good.
But
It's wonderful.
the other day, I shave with an electric razor, but I do sometimes with the old razor and cream too.
Yes.
And
Yes.
my left arm was just terrible at shaving because that's the side that Parkinson's was affecting.
Yes.
The last 2 times I've shaved with a razor, my left arm's working almost like it used to, which was
Oh,
unbelievable.
it's
'Cause
unbelievable. Yeah.
I just couldn't get it away from my body
Yeah.
to shave my face.
Oh,
So anyway, that's a testimony. I'm a believer in the stuff
yeah.
because it works.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
then I became a consultant. I'm not too good at getting the word out. We're trying to build a house right now, and that's
Yeah.
monster time consuming.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
Um,
believe me, I know that's kind of how I felt when I was running the restaurant, but
Yeah.
what a beautiful thing though for you. And I'm so grateful that you were open to try it. And there's only better to come. I noticed more at 4 months. Actually, I didn't notice anything until 4 months. And then I would notice more and more as time went by. And I have clients now that sometimes like sometimes people's breakthrough is at 4 days, but sometimes it's 4 months or 8 months. And I have one gal, she had the most beautiful breakthrough at a year. And I just think, my gosh, what if you would have quit? And so much is happening, inside of you with your Parkinson's. And for a while, when the Parkinson's was manifesting, it was doing that before you could feel it. And that's how healing is as well. There's healing happening. I love telling the story of one of my clients years ago, heard about the NRF2 and NRF1. She wanted to be on it. She didn't tell me what was going on in her body. All throughout the year, she told me, I don't feel anything, but I want the benefit. I want to keep going. And then at a year, she reached out and said, I just had my year labs. And for the first time ever, I have normal kidney function. And she said, I've been borderline kidney failure. And I guess that doesn't feel like anything. Like that didn't feel like anything for her until she
Yeah.
did labs. And so we've seen very special things with Parkinson's and with that combination. So I'm very excited that you're doing those together, and let it build that steam like a freight train. And I love that the collagen has already been showing you such wonderful things, that you're getting that use of your arm back. That's amazing.
Yeah, it was kind of a nice thing.
Yes.
But I don't run,
I'd
I
say
tell
so.
people, I tell Marty, I don't run out of gas as fast as I used to. On
Oh,
my left arm, when I first had the Parkinson's, which I didn't know I had,
yeah.
I just knew my left arm was tired. And I said that for about a year plus before
Wow.
I even worried about talking to anybody about it. I just
Yeah.
thought I was getting old.
Wow.
And so I didn't worry about it. And then finally I got a diagnosis, probably a year and a half to 2 years before there was a diagnosis
Wow.
that
Wow.
I
Yeah.
went to somebody that could really get a diagnosis on it.
Yeah.
And so a friend of mine told me about this collagen stuff, so that I'll give it a shot, figuring I'd just get my money back in 30 days.
Well, right. I know. That's what I thought too. 8 years later, here I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
it works.
Yes. So happy for you. It's wonderful. And I'm encouraged because I have a couple clients right now who just started on that combo, and they each have Axio as well, who are in the early time of their Parkinson's diagnosis. So I'm going to share what you shared with them just to
I
get
have
them.
a client who's more advanced than I am in the Parkinson's,
Yes.
and he has tried the collagen for a month, and he's tried the Protandim with it for about probably 2 or 3 weeks. And
Mm.
at this point, he's saying he's probably going to just quit.
Yeah.
And I'm not one to, it's not like the stuff is cheap.
No.
So I don't want to necessarily people spending money they don't have.
Right.
But I don't know. I'd like to encourage him to hang in there for a little longer, but I don't know whether to.
Yeah.
Yeah,
People have freedom, and we're in a very quick, instant gratification world. And one of the first things I tell people is, this is not a narcotic. You might not feel anything right away. And just like my gal with the kidney failure, you may not feel anything, and there's really good happening in your body. But it's a longevity product, and a month isn't long enough to get, like, if I have people say, well, I'll try it for a month, I'll say, don't even try it, because this is a longevity product. That would be like saying, I'm going to eat well and exercise for a month, but then I'm going to quit if I'm not perfect. And the reality is, it takes time and it builds upon itself. And we know that the glutathione production alone, which is so pivotal for Parkinson's, we've seen glutathione infusions affect the tremors of people with Parkinson's, and your body's producing 300% more glutathione by the time you're activated 90 days. So it doesn't get to the 300% at 20 days or at 30 days. It takes that accumulation of 90 days, and then the study stopped. So we don't even know how much more or how much more that glutathione is elevated when you combine it with the activated collagen. But it breaks my heart when people won't give it at least 3 months, or at least as many months as decades you've been alive. So if someone's 70, I'd say you can't even think of doing it in less than 7 months. You got to give it 7 months, even though I really like for people to understand so much good is happening in your body. And even, when we think of the effect, like we said, your oxidative stress, if we looked at just that, your oxidative stress is lowering 40% in 30 days, at least. Well, if you go off the product, it's not going to hurt you to go off of it. And so to say, but your oxidative stress level is now going to go up 40%.
Sure.
And your glutathione production is going to go down. And your SOD production is going to go down. And your inflammation is going to go back up. And I don't wish that on anyone.
What does the glutathione do? What's it supposed to do?
It's a master regulator. It's one of the most important molecules in our body, and it's a super antioxidant. It deeply lowers
I
that
see.
inflammation, but
Uh-huh.
glutathione is very, very effective. People try to get glutathione infusions as a means to help their Parkinson's. And when they're
Oh,
NRF2 activated, your body's producing that glutathione more than what you would
gotcha.
absorb with an infusion. So it's
Okay.
pretty special. And there's a long list of the benefits of glutathione in the aspects of your health and even disease that it just affects wonderfully. So to be able to
I'll sh-
make that within your body is pretty awesome.
I've
I'll share
often
that with them.
wondered, my dad had Parkinson's, and it's right when I learned about the products 9 years ago, and he was on so much medicine. I didn't realize it would help at that time. I should have had him on it, but I started taking it for severe sun damage, and I take it an extra one in the evening, and it's visibly reversing skin problems from too much sun. I often wonder, with the glutathione going up 300% in 90 days, for people who have things like Parkinson's, if they took that second one in the evening.
Yeah.
Talking about the protandem.
Yeah, the protandem nerve too.
So,
Yeah.
okay.
Because anyone with a serious ailment, a lot of the doctors will say, take the second one at the end of the day. And it doesn't
Okay.
bother sleep to take it before bed.
I
Right.
take it twice a day a lot. If I have anything coming at my body, an injury, or if I feel like, a virus is going around or anything, I'll take several of our activators more than once a day.
Oh,
And I wanted to tell you as well, my friend Chanel, are you on, Chanel? I don't know if you are on by voice. I knew she'd have to have her camera off, but I didn't, there's quite a few just iPhones that I don't know who you are, but my friend Chanel, and Chanel, interrupt me if you are on. My friend Chanel has that adult foster care home, and my father passed 18 years ago from a neurological degenerative disease called progressive supranuclear palsy. And it's very rare, and people will compare it to Parkinson's. And even how you described how yours started, that's my dad started. He just felt some head pressure for like a year and didn't think it was, didn't know what it was, but it ended up being supranuclear palsy. And it was very rough. His whole process was rough, and his death was rough, and everything was terrible and horrific. And Chanel, at her adult foster care home, my dad was 65 too when he passed. And she had a 92-year-old woman who had been given 2 years to live the year before with my dad's prognosis and diagnosis. And she activated this woman in her 90s, and it took a year. By the time a year had progressed, she was symptom-free. And so, there's a little bit of comparison there. Like, there was a year that Dolores, it was taking every single day, her NRF2. And Chanel adds the activated collagen now. So I don't know if Dolores later got the activated collagen, because she was actually at the adult foster care home before the collagen came out. But, it took a year of that accumulation that she gradually got better. But to be able to do, Chanel ended up sharing with me that she went to the neurologist and she had no markers of supranuclear palsy, which dumbfounded me, that she could talk, that she could walk, that she had use of her facial muscles, that, it was just a really beautiful story with her. But it was a year, because I told her, how long did that take? Because she had been progressed. Her prognosis was only a year more. And she said it took a year. It took a year of gradual healing. So
for me, I play the guitar, or I should say played. And when it was getting really bad, I couldn't get, if any of you are guitar players, I couldn't get G7th anymore. And
Mm.
so the other day, a couple of weeks ago, my wife brought the guitar and says, "Have you tried this?" I said, "Well, no." I got G7th.
Ah,
Couldn't believe it. And I'm not switching as fast as I did still before when I was
no.
full on, but still
Oh,
I can get the chords I wasn't getting me,
that's
which is kind of cool.
oh, it's more than kind of cool. That's amazing. That's why we do what we do. That's why
Yeah.
we can't help but share. You know, these are the things we get to hear. If you can get someone to get G7 again, what a wonderful thing. It's
Yeah.
it's even, you know, like one of our studies was done by the National Institute of Aging, and they did prove that Protandim NRF2 extends lifespan by 7%. But it increases health span, because who wants to live 7% longer if they can't get G7? Like
Exactly.
that's the example right there. Oh,
Oh, nice.
congratulations. Thank you so much for
Yeah.
sharing. That's just beautiful.
Well, thank you for your presentation. That was encouraging.
Thank you.
Yes,
It's my
thanks.
joy. It's my joy. Any other questions? There's no,
The links to share links with some people that you want to share with. Do you get access those on the Facebook page, or where do you get those?
depending on what I would have people do is reach out to the person that invited them here, and
Gotcha.
yeah, and they'll have the links. Yeah, they'll have,
Okay.
yep, they'll have the links for you. So if anyone on here wants to order, just reach out to whoever invited you. And if I know listening to this for the first time, sometimes it's more confusing. You're thinking, I'm more confused now about what I should order. But the person who invited you here is pretty good at talking to you about what to pick. And if they're brand new and they're not, they'll know someone who is, and they'll get you connected.
Okay. Thank
And
you.
if there, you bet. And if we didn't cover any of the questions, you can ask them later. Person who invited you here knows how to get a hold of me too. So,
Can I ask a question, please?
please.
Maybe I'll wait till next week.
It's okay. We can wait. Take your time. Yep, catch your breath. It's okay. You're why we're here. Every time when I talk about my sons, when I really talk about my sons and their story, I just cry. And I don't apologize for it.
No.
Mm-mm.
I'm an Agent Orange person from the military. And I just picked up another bad diagnosis this afternoon, just a couple hours before you start talking, and your message has been so encouraging. But I'd also like to get the information from the gentleman that just talked, because many of our soldiers have Parkinson's from the dioxin contamination, the Agent Orange. And I have 3 individuals that are with Parkinson's. I'd like to maybe connect him with this guy, and I'm so glad that he got on the phone.
Thank you.
Anyway,
Thank you.
I'll talk to you next week. Thank you.
Absolutely. Stan, that's how important your share was. Thank you so much. You've inspired other people just from hearing your story.
So he wants to.
He would,
I didn't catch everything he said there.
he'd love to be able to connect with you. Are you on the Facebook page, Proactive Health and Wellness?
Ma'am, I don't know too much about technology, but I can try to do anything. I'm welcome to try. So
Yes.
what if I can maybe reach out to you, or is there somebody else that they can help me?
Yes. So whoever invited you and gave you this information, or if you just
You
saw it.
invited me. Yeah, I saw it on the Facebook page.
Oh, all right. Okay. Well, then I'll see. My name on Facebook is Angie. So if
Right.
anyone here is not my friend, you are my friend now. My name is Angie Downs, Downs, Huntley, Huntley. And just send me a friend request, and then 2 posts down, I just posted it recently, is the invitation to this Zoom. And then in the comments, we can all talk to each other.
Thank you.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And any questions? So anybody, if you think of questions later, we do a lot of communicating on Facebook. It's actually a great platform for us to share. So feel free to send me a friend request and let's chat more about this. And let's connect each other.
Thank you.
Okay.
But
Okay,
thanks for
thanks.
Yeah.
What's your name? What's your name, gentlemen?
I'm Barry Boyd, B-O-Y-D,
Larry Boyd?
Barry Boyd, B-O-Y-D.
Barry.
Yeah, we want to save our veterans if we can.
yes.
You know, veterans, we just owe them so much, and there'd be poisons like that. Over 200,000 of our soldiers have been killed from the poison.
Yes.
You know, we want to help those that are still alive.
Yes. Yes. All right, Barry Boyd, I'm going to be looking for you on Facebook, and I'll make sure that you're connected with Stan.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Angie.
It's my honor. It's my honor.
So you said I'm already a friend of yours, Angie?
If you saw my invite on the page, unless you saw it on Proactive Health and Wellness, I'll find you.
I saw it on Team Prosper.
On Team Prosper. Okay. So I'm going to friend you. I'm going to send you a friend request then. And then I
Okay.
can connect you and Barry, if that's okay.
That works.
Okay. All
Okay,
right.
thanks.
Thank you so much.
Uh-huh.
All right. Have a wonderful evening or day, depending on what time zone you're in, everybody.
You bet, you too.
Thank you. I'll see you next week on Thursday. Right
Okay,
back.
here.
Okay.
I'll be here.
Okay. Take care, everyone.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Good night.